Fix it. Okay. Well, so that was a total waste of whatever I just said. Forget about it. It wasn't that funny. It was funny, but it wasn't that funny. Let's just dig into some of these. There we go. I'm seeing levels now. I see Sergeant Major says Rumble is fine, which is weird. It shouldn't be physically possible for... Okay. Woman threatened by homeless would-be mugger wishes hero vigilante gunman didn't fire weapon. I was terrified. Now, this story has actually made the rounds in the news lately. And so, unlike most of our coverage on this show, I've already got a pretty good handle on what happened here. But let's read the article. The woman who was threatened by a homeless would-be mugger considers subway vigilante John Rote a hero, but wishes he tried to help without firing a gun in the station. Oh my God. But what about the dolphins? I sure wish they would have used a different suppression system to put the fire out on my house, because I'm worried about all those poor whales and fish. Bitch, shut up! You were in a bad spot, and a good man did what was necessary to save your life. Oh my God. Okay. Have y'all seen the movie The Incredibles? The Incredibles. I love The Incredibles. Right? And the basic premise in The Incredibles is that superheroes are a thing, but they've been outlawed. Right? So the superheroes that do exist they're vigilante criminals, working under the cover of darkness, right? The main character, Mr. Incredible, and his buddy Frozone are sneaking out in the middle of the night to go and solve crimes and stop crime on the down low, right? They're listening to police scanners and all that stuff. And the predicate for that story, the thing that starts it off, is Mr. Incredible, who's essentially Superman, gets sued by somebody he saved. And so the somebody in question, this guy is attempting to commit suicide, jumps off a building, looking to go out via street pizza method. Mr. Incredible jumps through a window, grabs the guy in the air, and tackles him into another building, saving his life. Right? Breaks his arm, breaks his leg in the process. And so they sue him over the life-saving measure. Now, it is theoretically illegal to commit suicide. And I say theoretically because, and this is a whole complicated existential road to go down, but the fact is, a law is not a law if there's no enforcement mechanism. And when you're talking about the question of someone voluntarily taking their own life, then there is no enforcement mechanism, right? Because every enforcement mechanism, the enforcement of all law, comes down quite simply to, if you do it, there is a path for the state to kill you. Every single law. If the punishment is a fine, you refuse to pay the fine, right? You refuse to pay the fine, you're going to go to jail. If you refuse to go to jail, you're going to be forcibly dragged to jail. If you continue to resist sufficiently, the state will kill you. It's that simple. There is no law at the end of whose violation does not lie the legal, the lawfully preserved authority of the state to end your life. So that's a whole thing. But the story begins with Mr. Incredible being sued for saving someone's life and the person complaining about how it was done. This woman saying that she wishes he had saved her life without firing a gun, she's an idiot. She is a fucking moron. Oh. So, speaking to the Post over the phone Friday, the 40-year-old woman who did not want to be identified recalled the pure terror she felt during Tuesday's ordeal in the city's subway system she believes has become increasingly unsafe for riders. This is New York City, right? Yeah. Oh? Y'all got rid of America's mayor and went for a Democrat. And your city has gotten less safe. You've elected Soros-backed DAs, and your city has gotten less safe. Here's a little news flash on that regard. You and every other city in the country. It's happening right here in Atlanta, Georgia. Right? Antifa is setting fire to concrete trucks in riots in the city of Atlanta. Is that a national news headline? Fuck no, it's not. And that shit's been going on for almost 4 years with no substantial law enforcement activity associated with it. Right? This is not some loose band of political dissidents engaged. No. The Antifa riots and autonomous zones and all that in the Defend the Forest, Stop Cop City movement, they are organized cellular terrorists comprised of foreigners. There's a lot of foreign influence there. There are foreign agents engaged with cells of terrorists burning construction equipment and murdering cops in Atlanta, Georgia. And it's barely even a footnote in the news. The woman's nightmarish scenario unfolded when, while trying to head back to her Queens home, she encountered Matthew Roche, a homeless 49-year-old who was allegedly harassing her for money after he held the emergency gate open at the 49th Street station near Times Square, she recalled. When she tried to walk through, he blocked her way and demanded money, according to court documents. I said, I'm not going to give him any money, and kept walking. He followed me. He kept demanding money, and he said, if you don't give me money, I'm going to take your bag. As I was trying to walk away from him, but he was following me and getting very close, the woman said. Roche, who was known to police for frequently pulling this scheme, allegedly made moves to snatch her bag when Rote, 43, whipped out the firearm and allegedly fired several rounds across the subway, while warning the would-be mugger to leave the woman alone. Of course, I'm happy that man tried to help me and that nobody was injured during this incident, but it's scary to think that people are carrying guns around the city. I understand why people do it. They see it as their only means of protection, the woman said. They see it as their only means of protection. Nutbags like this woman think that the reason that you carry a firearm is because you're desperate. Because you're desperate in the face of a world where the government has failed you. Let me clarify something. You, individually, you are the person who has ultimately the responsibility for your own safety. Right? We talked about this with Castle Rock v. Gonzalez and the Winnebago case and all those. Over and over and over again, the Supreme Court has said that the police have no duty to defend you. Right? You'll see, go watch some auditor videos, and you'll hear these cops tell people, okay, I need you to do X, Y, and Z for officer safety. I'm not interested in officer safety. It's not my problem. You don't get to force me to make you more safe. It's not an option. You don't get to dictate to me that I take affirmative actions under threat of death. Because no two ways about it. Let's be very clear. If a police officer or any agent of the government gives you an order and expects that you're going to follow it, what is being done is you are being threatened, just like I described before with the chain from fine to prison to death. Anytime an agent of the government gives you an order, you are being told you will conduct an affirmative action or I will make you to die. You will do what I want or die. Within the legal framework, the fact that that is true is one of the principal reasons that we are so intolerant legally in this country of proscriptive laws. We use laws to describe prohibited actions. Don't murder people. Don't steal from people. Don't rape. Don't defraud people, right? Don't hurt other people. The law is meant to strip away your authority to cause harm. So this woman lives in a world where she believes that it's the government's responsibility to protect you, and that it is not doing that efficiently is a reason that people have an emotional attachment and in their desperation choose to carry a firearm. But that's just insane. I'm a photographer. I carry a camera so I can do my job because I'm paid to do a thing. Therefore, I have a responsibility to do that thing. And in order to keep up that responsibility, I carry the correct equipment. Similarly, I am alive, and only I bear the direct responsibility to keep myself alive. Now, I'm happy to extend my authority to preserve life to cover those around me and preserve those lives as well. I have children, for example, right? I bear the responsibility to maintain them in a live and healthy state. The tools for the job, in order to exercise the authority to preserve life in response to the responsibility of seeing that done, are entailed in the freedom, the liberty, to carry the tools necessary to do the work that is required of you. That right there, on no small existential level, is a divine mandate. If you are not armed, you are individually refusing to take up your own responsibilities. You are acting irresponsibly. And you're saying that the lives of other people have no value. And you are simultaneously saying that the lives of monsters have more value than my own. Unacceptable. So Rote was seen in surveillance footage casually pulling the handgun from his bag and aiming it at the scuffle before shouting, "Get the fuck away from her." It all happened within seconds. It didn't faze the homeless man. He continued to say, give me money," the woman said. That's when Rote allegedly shot the second time and continued yelling at Roche to back away from his victim. So, okay, firing the weapon in the crowded subway, that's a high risk activity. It is. And if that's the place that you found yourself, that you have to make that choice, I hope to God that you are well practiced, well trained, and able to practice judicious marksmanship. Absolutely. That said, the way the story's described here, it sounds very much like the guy was too far away to put his hands on the homeless man, right? To step between the two of them, and had to make some kind of a choice. And under the law, he could have simply chosen to ignore the situation, right? There are Good Samaritan laws which are supposed to protect you from liability in the event that something goes wrong when you attempt to intercede on someone else's behalf, right? It's supposed to protect you from things like being sued for cracking somebody's ribs while performing CPR. But similarly, there are laws. I forget what it's called, but it's like presumption of intervention or whatever. If you begin to render aid, then just stop, you can be held liable for the result, because the legal theory is that by stopping to render aid, you have signaled to others who might have also rendered aid that aid was already in progress, and thereby dissuaded those others from rendering the needed aid. So you have, and I mean, you're a man. You've started a job. You have a responsibility to finish the thing that you started, right? You know, we could make that argument on a moral, natural law level, but under the law, there actually is some backing to that. If you've started to render aid, then the expectation is that you've signaled to other people, I got this. And so somebody else who might have rendered aid might be dissuaded by that, and so you now bear the responsibility for seeing that through legally. And it says Rote allegedly screamed, "Get the fuck away from her," before firing 2 shots through a subway station. As about 40 others in the station scattered, she found safety inside an MTA maintenance room after a worker opened the door to check out the chaos. He pushed a large metal cabinet against the door, preventing the gunman or the would-be mugger from following them inside. I hate that he's being called a gunman. They're going out of their way to make this guy sound like a bad guy. Sergeant Major says CPR is exhausting. Yes, it is, and I know that you know that. I remember the kid that fell off the playground at, was that at Bethany? Yeah, that was at Bethany. The gun was pointed in my direction, and that's all I saw. It was a feeling of pure terror that I don't wish on anyone. The woman said she wishes Rote didn't use the gun when attempting to help her. Roche was arrested after police arrived within minutes and was charged with attempted robbery, but Rote was able to flee before he could be cuffed. What? Rote was able to flee before he could be cuffed. Rote, who has no prior arrests, was arrested at his Manhattan job the following day after an anonymous tipster recognized him from the police-leaked footage. He allegedly admitted to the shooting and told cops he ditched the gun in the East River. Okay, now, right there, now Rote gets gets some criticism. He gets some necessary criticism. He did the right thing. And the government gets some criticism here, too. He did the right thing. Maybe he could have done it better. I wasn't there. I don't know. Part of the point to a firearm is it's a long-range engagement tool. but they make it sound like he ran away, and that he apparently ditched the gun in the East River. Here's where we are. This man was put in a position where he chose to intercede to protect an innocent person. And then was likely terrified that no matter how morally right he was, or even legally right he might have been, that, and especially since he lives in New York, that he would be treated like a criminal for doing the job that is expected of the government. And I say it that way, I say it that way very carefully. He did what the government is expected to do. But the fact is, the government does not do this. Like I've already covered this morning. We've talked about it with Gonzales and Castle Rock and Winnebago. The government does not accept that it has a responsibility to protect you. It will not intercede on your behalf to protect you from crime in progress. The only responsibility legally, according to the Supreme Court, that law enforcement has is to investigate crime after it has been done and then hopefully wreak justice on the perpetrator of the crime. At best, you can hope that fear of eventual repercussion and consequence will suppress the interest of individuals to engage in crime, but the data do not support it. Clearly, this homeless guy that habitually robs people at the subway station, that the police know is habitually robbing people at the subway station and have left free to roam and continue to do that. He has no concern or fear about consequences. In fact, there's a high degree of probability that he's personally interested in being arrested and incarcerated for a period just for 3 hots and a cot. Believe it or not, there are people out there for whom a short-term jail sentence, like, for example, throughout the very cold winter months in the Northeast, is a very sexy proposition. Oh, hey, 3 hots and a cot until the sun comes back and the snow goes away? That beats the shit out of waking up snowed on a park bench. We had a homeless guy in Maine, Calvin, and we drink with Calvin at the gazebo every now and then, smoke cigars. Calvin was not all there. He wasn't. And every year when the first snow hit, Calvin would go and do something minor. He'd go break a window or, public urination. He'd do something very calculatedly minor. They'd lock him up until it got warm outside. Eventually they got tired of putting up with his shit. They stopped locking him up. They threatened, or rather they threatened to lock him up permanently, and he changed his pattern. And then one day, back in about 2007, they found Calvin sitting at the gazebo at the Brunswick Mall, which it's like a park. It's not a shopping mall. They found Calvin sitting in the gazebo, frozen. I don't mean he died of cold. I mean he was literally frozen all the way through. Steve says it warms his heart to see that can of CLP on the desk. Yeah, I was just shining up the old 357 the other day. I got a charcoal infused toothbrush here for the detail work too. Which, by the way, these are fantastic. They're cheap and effective. So, all right. Well, we have spent the entire show on one DGU, and I typically try not to do that. I do have 3 more, but I don't have time to do all 3. Damn, nope, I don't have time to do another one at all. I apologize for that. Let's go ahead and do the safety brief, and I'm gonna have to wrap it up. So, going into the weekend, there's nothing big special going on this weekend, but we are going into Thanksgiving week next week, and of course Black Friday on Friday. And guys, I ain't gonna lie, I'm looking forward to if I can find enough of them, and I'm relatively confident that I will. I'm hoping that a week from Monday, right, the Monday after Black Friday, I can do a show that's basically just nothing but videos of people fighting over toys on Black Friday. we'll just watch those. I may even pop a bowl of popcorn for that one. We'll see what happens. But going into the holiday week, it's going to get busy out there. People are going to be traveling a lot. I don't think it's going to be particularly crazy over this weekend, but the normal weekend rules apply. Sex, drugs, rock and roll, farm animals, and videotape. No 2 at the same time. Right? Right. So, y'all be safe out there. We love you, and we will see you on Monday. Not that one, that one.